exactly sure, but he fell 4 miles, 24,000 feet, in the afternoon of November 29th, 1943, so 75 years ago today. There is no explanation as to why he survived. He crashed. The tail section got stuck in the trees, but was close enough to the ground where he could crawl out. And he never lost consciousness. He told me he was conscious the whole time. He could not see because the speed of the fall had pushed blood into his eyes. And he lay on the ground. He thought at first he didn't know if he was dead, heaven, but he felt the grass and the leaves, and he started laughing. I'm alive, I'm alive. And then some Frenchmen found him. That were French POWs, prisoners of war, who had been allowed to scrounge for food, and many times they would watch the flyers and the planes fall from the sky and scavenge their things, their items, their chocolate bars. And that's who found him. They were quite shocked that he was alive because they were ripping off his chocolate bars, his radio microphone, and he started speaking to them, which shocked them. And he said, "Doctor, doctor," because he had been hurt. His skull was cracked open. And they were like, "Oui, oui, oui, oui." And they went to get German soldiers, and the German soldiers picked him up and put him in an ox cart.
And he was, the first aid he got,
None.
it was none. And even later, he later found a doctor. Maybe you can explain in a prison camp.
Well, he almost died that day. I don't know which village it was. I'm thinking maybe Zika. He could not see, but the ox cart was paraded through town, and the villagers attacked it. They often attacked the American airmen because their bombs often hit their house. Gene was spit on. You could feel the spit on his face. They were throwing rocks at him. They wanted to get at him and kill him. The German soldiers, ironically, saved him. They pushed the crowd away. That evening, he was put in a warehouse building with other captured American flyers, and there was a shot-down pilot who asked a German guard for some scissors, bandage, some water, put a little something on his head, and that man wrote his own book and said, "I did not think he was going to live." About 2 days later, he went to San Basel prison, and there he received medical care.
From an East European doctor.
2 Serbian doctors saved his life and sewed him back together. They took a chunk of flesh and sewed it into his cracked skull.
So he was mainly injured at the head. Or even
his ribs were broken, and both of his arms were shot, but that was from the fighting in the air. German fighter planes had done that. And he had broken several vertebrae in his lower back were cracked, but it was the head wound that was the most serious. His brain was exposed. You could see the brain.
I got that right. He was even shot in the air.
He was shot in the air. Yeah, a bullet passed through both arms. His right arm was a compound fracture. The bone snapped out of his flight jacket, so that's why I brought the flight jacket here today. So his flight jacket was torn, and an explosion on the plane slammed him into his guns, a chest plate, and he broke all his ribs on his left side.
During his last years, you got to know him and met him. Was he still suffering from that injuries in his later days?
His lower back always bothered him. His right arm was slightly bent, never healed correctly, was never straight again. But he's the toughest man I ever met. He did not complain, and he did not say much about his injuries. After the war, the head wound really bothered him. Many nervous breakdowns, spasmodic attacks. Those faded as he got older, but they were quite bad when he came home.
And he also had a good relationship to the other soldier who survived.
Jesse Orsen.
Could you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that?
His son Wayne is here today.
Okay.
You may want to speak with him.
Yeah.
Jesse and Gene remained lifelong friends. Jesse returned to the military a few years later, but he always made a point about every 3 years to come visit the Moran family. As he said, they were closer than brothers. Gene loved Jesse, a bond that we cannot understand. And they remain lifelong friends. I believe Jesse died about 15 years ago.
What does it mean to you personally, who has written down the story from the American perspective, and now you're here with all the ancestors and all the people? What does it mean for you to stand here now?
It's one of those things I cannot put into words right now. I will have to think about it. I'm trying not to cry.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask in the afternoon. Thank you.